wanted to help improve the marketing education among locally founded businesses in the region. And so what we've decided to do here is that we are going to be holding sessions like this every few months, to which you will be invited, kind of update you on the landscape of marketing in the region, sometimes digital like today, other times other parts of the marketing world that could also be of interest to you. So these are going to always be kind of small, intimate, client-focused or friends of I&Co sessions, so that you can have at the end of the hour or the end of the about 40 minutes. We can have a little bit of a Q&A, and you can ask some questions pertinent to your business about these trends. So if you do have those questions, please do save them till the end. If you have anything really burning, place it in the chat, and my wonderful colleague Isra, who's also here, will keep an eye on that as well. So without further ado, I will get started. So it's no real surprise that 2020 has forced us all into the digital deep end. Businesses all over the world have had to go further than they ever expected when it came to digital, and that is definitely applied to marketing. So there are a couple of things that we wanted. There's obviously so much we could talk about, but we highlighted a few things that we wanted to share today that we thought would be of super interest to you guys. The first being 2020 has seen an incredible surge in video consumption. So video has always been on the radar for the last couple of years, with it increasing year on year and being a topic of importance. But now with all of us meeting like this on Zoom, online, it's become even more important today. And if you are not doing video, it is something to definitely consider starting today. So let's start with a couple of stats. So when we look at the UAE, social media is incredibly social media penetration is very high, with 98.98% of people on some sort of social media platform. So that's almost 100% of people in the UAE using some sort of platform. Now that includes WhatsApp, so as a messaging platform as well. And we see that people in the UAE spend around 2.5 hours a day on social media, with YouTube actually being the most visited platform. So this is obviously a video sharing platform, and people are spending 88% of people in the country visit that on a regular basis. Facebook and WhatsApp follow closely behind at 79%, and Instagram is a little bit further behind at 68%. When we move over to this, another very important market in the region, we've seen that in 2020, in Saudi, 56% of the Saudi population has significantly increased their digital video consumption. This is something that's actively happened this year, prominently due to COVID. 50% have increased their video on demand consumption. So those are things like Netflix, Stars Play, etc. And 46% spend at least 2 hours per day watching digital videos. It doesn't sound like much, but if you think about it, sitting on your phone or on a device for 2 hours a day watching video content means you have people who are actively consuming video as a preferred format for their day. When we look globally, video is definitely one of the top, actually should be the top focus for marketers around the world. By 2022, online videos will make up more than 82% of all consumer internet traffic. I mean, try to imagine that number as people are moving away from written content, people are moving away from even visual content. You know, photo was the trend of a couple of years ago when we moved on to Instagram, away from Facebook and other platforms. And now video is really going to be at the forefront, leaving all other kinds of content far in its dust. Video also performs 59% better than any other post type. When we look at how it works for marketing, 88% of video marketers report positive ROI when using video. 93% of brands report getting a new customer on video, using video on social media. And this doesn't have to be super polished. I can feel a lot of people when I start talking about this get really nervous with the idea of having to be like this in front of a screen and think about how polished and edited and captions and wonderful. It doesn't have to be that complicated. Video can actually be super simple, and the main draw to it is actually seeing your face, is people putting a face to the brand or to the company that they are giving their dollars to. 83% of video marketers say they have generated lead using video as well. We've actually been experimenting in the last few weeks with video versus image for digital campaigns as well. We're finding that video, while we assume that people may not stop to watch video that long for an ad, it was actually much more thumb stopping, as we call it, and the engagement rates have been higher for our video ads versus our static ads. So how does that apply to you? Many of you, I know a few of you already are doing some sort of video content, but a lot of you have not ventured yet into the world of video. And it might actually be a little bit worrisome or frightening to you. Well, the first thing we look at is, well, we could talk about generally like normal video production. There's also some niche platforms that you can get on board with if you really want to start kind of unleashing your creativity and making a splash. So we're going to get a little bit deeper into live streaming on Facebook Live and the benefits of live streaming a little bit later in this presentation. But I also wanted to mention a little platform called TikTok that I'm sure a lot of you have heard of. Now, a few of you already, I'm sure, are thinking the TikTok's not for me. It's not for my business. And I think actually most business owners would say TikTok is not for me, including myself a few months ago. But I'm starting to think a little bit differently. So for those of you who are not aware what TikTok is a short form video platform that originally started as a platform that is dance-based, music-based, and really targeting the younger audiences, Gen Z and a little bit of millennials. But it's not only for those younger audiences anymore. The demographics are completely changing on TikTok, with the focus of content changing as well. We see that they're launching streams called Food Talk or Learn Talk that are really focused on short form content for different interest streams that are driving a lot of people to the platform. Engagement on TikTok is 1.8 times higher than any other social media platform. People are obsessed. They are able to discover faster. They're able to see new creators. And it is just a platform that helps you unleash creativity. And, you know, people, it may not seem like it's, if you're business in a service business or a more professional business, it may not seem like it's a place for you, but the Wall Street Journal is one of the top creators on TikTok. And it is worth looking at some of these brands that are unexpectedly on there that are doing really well. TikTok had a massive boom in the region from COVID. So by April, mentions of TikTok had risen 122% in the Middle East when compared to pre-COVID times. There's no publicly disclosed data on Middle East penetration of TikTok. Globally, there's about 315 million downloads of the platform, but we know that it is rising rapidly in the region with people really adopting this format. So something to think about if short form or you want to try your hand on creativity there. So, with video, it's really about creating engaging video content. So you have to find as well if things like TikTok or lives are not for you. You have to find a format that makes sense. Maybe it's conducting webinars like this that you record and then you share on your social media, or it's tutorials or testimonials, or even simple things like behind the scenes. So people love to see what is happening behind the scenes at a company, who the people are, what's going on, what you're doing for your customers and your clients. Not everything has to be super polished. It has to just be engaging and interesting and can be short format if they don't have to. In fact, short format is much better than long format videos. A few of you follow our weekly Marketing Mondays. I've been doing these now for, I think, 3.5 years. And I started out with 4 to 5 minute videos that would stress me out all the time because I'd have to set up my professional camera, get the lighting, do the captions, do the filters, do all that stuff, set up the scene. And the videos were 3 to 4 minutes. I'd put them on YouTube, and nothing. About a year ago, I decided to shorten the length to be a minute. Whatever I had to say had to be said in 1 minute per week. And the response has been phenomenal, with people actually being able to take the time, watch 1 minute of the day. I've added captions as well now, and that's also helped. So it's not necessarily about how over the top or cramming every possible amount of content. Consistency and engagement when it comes to video are the top priorities as well. And then if you're still not ready to create polished videos, but you're not on stories yet and not producing video that way, that's an easy way to get into it. So stories are a 24-hour usually format in which you can upload much more raw content that is available for 24 hours to your followers. Almost every social media platform has instituted this now, starting, of course, it was a Snapchat start. Moved on to Instagram, then Facebook. LinkedIn now has stories, and YouTube will be adding stories that are actually available for 7 days, which is totally departing from the norm for stories. Stories are so easy. All you have to do is wave a camera, really hold it up, selfie style as well, and people engage with stories actually more than they do with content on the feed sometimes. So if you're not comfortable yet producing, or you still feel like you'd rather put something more polished on your feed, then it is time to sink into stories. Get yourself into video. Now, moving along, obviously we've had to move into the digital realm a little bit faster than the norm, and some digital tools have become extremely important, moving in the same realm as video we're talking here. So the first one, I mentioned earlier that Facebook Live has risen in importance now post-COVID. We wanted to take a little bit of time to discuss this tool and how you can use it, because it is an incredibly powerful and engaging tool. So as the name pretty much implies, it is a live stream on Facebook. It is a real-time interactive feature that allows you to broadcast from your Facebook followers, to your Facebook followers. And what's really powerful about it is that it actually indicates to followers of your page when you are going live. It puts out push notifications for them, and people actually really enjoy watching live content. Facebook has done a tremendous amount of work in COVID era to improve its live streaming because they've seen such a shoot up of usage on the platform. So statistics show that 60% of marketers who use live video use Facebook Live, and that actually users, followers, or watchers comment 10 times more on live videos versus recorded videos. So as well, I know this gives a lot of you heart palpitations, but the engagement that you get from a live video versus a recorded video is much higher, and you're able to engage and interact with questions as they come in, which is a really fun way to connect with your audience. In 2019, it was said that 1.1 billion of hours of live content were watched worldwide, and this number has just astronomically changed in 2020 as live has become one of the most powerful tools. Now, Facebook Live itself is incredibly developed when compared to other free, this is a completely free tool if you think about this. Compared to other free tools, it's integrated into your Facebook page. You can either go live directly on Facebook, so like this, you just turn on the camera and it tells everybody that you're live, or you can stream from other tools like Zoom. So if you're holding a webinar like this, you can actually link it to Facebook so that it also streams on Facebook itself. You can add things like automatic closed captions so that their tool will try to track what you're saying and do automatic subtitles, which is really great for, obviously, for people of different capabilities or people who want to watch without sound. And you can also add filters and other animations, just some really powerful tools, and it is all for free. If you also have a Facebook group, because I know a lot of you foster your community through a Facebook group, what is great is that you can also go live only to the Facebook group and not to your wider audience too. This was very prevalent in the UAE over COVID times as well. There were several special interest groups, like for example, groups for event organizers or wedding planners, where the hosts of the group were running regular educational content with different speakers every week on live, and the live interaction with the group's members was really incredibly valuable. So something to consider if you want to start dabbling with live. Facebook is a fantastic way to do that, along with IGTV, of course. A couple examples of brands who have done this. So Fitness First used both IGTV and FB Live to conduct live streaming group classes online, which fitness has been one of the strongest categories to be using live over the last few months post-COVID. An interesting one that I found is that the Dubai Chess and Cultural Club also used IGTV and Facebook Live to conduct live group classes online as well, and educational content. So you see, even something like, fitness is a very clear one, but to teach chess online or to do live chess tournaments online is a really interesting use for a very special interest group. So just because you're live doesn't mean you have to have an incredibly wide audience of hundreds of people watching what you do. Even small groups of really engaged audience members can be a fantastic use of your time. Benefit Cosmetics used Facebook Live to talk about their products with experts from the industry. A lot of other makeup brands, even local brands of multi-brand makeup stores, used this time to do live makeup tutorials with experts to show their products. And of course, people being at home more, this kind of content live and being able to ask questions of experts was incredibly valued. So think about things that maybe you could have. It doesn't even have to be you giving the content. It could be people that you host on your page or people that you host in a discussion format on your page that could be accepting questions from your audience, people who might be interesting to them in terms of the content that they know, the expertise that they have, etc. Then, of course, the word that has become ubiquitous and synonymous with COVID is Zoom. I mean, we are on Zoom at the moment. I think the opening of Zoom for the UAE has been one of the biggest wins of COVID. We've seen how, a 1 hour meeting can turn into a 15-minute video call, which has been fantastic for our time. But also brands are using Zoom in really interesting ways. So let's see. So Nokia conducted a study in the Middle East and Africa and found that Zoom was actually the largest, had the largest usage during lockdown. 10 times in terms of growth, they had nearly 900% growth in usage, obviously off a small base because it wasn't very prevalently used in the region, but you can see it is outpacing in terms of growth any of the other conferencing or video platforms. It is the app du jour, I would say. Brands that have used it really interestingly, just a couple of examples. So Baby Arabia, which is a platform for baby interest for topics about motherhood and parenthood, launched a partnership with Baby Shop, so a very large brand with a very large audience, and the Dubai Business Women's Council to launch virtual coffee mornings and webinars with parents. And they actually incentivized attendance by offering discounts to attendees of the webinar, which I thought was a really interesting way to actually interest people to come and attend the webinar mornings. For new parents, I think, when I was a new parent, I would actually go to a lot of these coffee mornings in person, but the idea of dragging a newborn and having spit up on you and always showing up late and having to get in the car in summer, the ability to do that virtually online and speak with experts, I'm sure was a tremendous, was really perceived well by new parents. And one, of course, that is very close to my heart at Elevate. For those of you who know, I co-lead Elevate with a wonderful team of leaders. And we have an annual iftar every year that is one of our most popular events. So when the lockdown happened, we thought we would have to cancel the iftar, but instead what we decided to do is that we collaborated with Pinch Gourmet, which is a catering company, and we were able to deliver meals across the city and use Zoom to actually have a meal with our members. This is as well looking beyond at Zoom, beyond simply connecting you to be able to physically talk to people, finding creative ways to be able to connect. I know as well, similar, I mentioned the wedding networking as well, but they hosted an event, a networking event for their members in which they had different performers, magicians, and guitarists, different people showcasing their talents so that when weddings do come back on or events do come back on, you've had the chance to see a lot of different people and what they can do, all from the comfort of your home. And this one I found was really interesting, is that while a lot of people are doing webinar content and everyone's jumped on the webinar train and doing Zoom content, etc., West Elm and Bear, Bear is a paint company, did something a little bit different, which I thought was outside of the box. And they actually started producing Zoom virtual backgrounds for people to use in their conferences that make them look like they have the perfect home. So this was a really excellent way to jump on the Zoom trend without hosting Zoom events or Zoom calls, just really showing that they were part of the wave, that they understood what was happening and what people needed. And obviously, you know, if you're living in you know, if you're on Zoom all day, you're always looking for the nicest corner of your house to do it from. And so it's lovely to be able to just put up a fake house in the background that looks like it's your own. So those are a couple of the digital tools, a little bit of the video trends. And now I'm going to hand over to my colleague Isra, our junior brand manager on the team, talk about virtual technology. So how a lot of regional brands have taken virtual technology on and how they are leveraging it at the moment in the COVID world to keep their brands relevant. Isra, take it away.
So hi everyone. As we have seen that with the digital disruption that has taken place this year, there are multiple brands and industries that have gone virtual in a number of ways. They've done this to reach out to their customers and to kind of keep the conversation going. So in this section of virtual technology, I'm going to explore different forms of virtual technology as well as augmented reality used by brands in innovative ways to kind of stand out from the crowd. So the first area is tourism. So as we all know, it's the hardest hit during the Corona times because of lesser flights, and in general, people have the fear to travel right now. So to keep the interest going in tourism, Dubai went digital. So known to be the city of the future, they used this time to show how digital savvy they are, and they did not take a back seat. Now you can explore the city in the comfort of your home, or even internationally by visiting a few websites that now offer virtual tours. So you can explore, say for instance, the history of Al Fahidi Street, art exhibitions in Al Circle Avenue, or even the Dubai Mall Aquarium. So you can go and visit the website for a virtual tour of the main tank, the water zoo, or even the sharks. So moving on from tourism to a different industry, automotive. As many museums have opened their doors to virtual tours, it was the first to hear about a car manufacturer company doing the same. So due to the Corona pandemic, there are no more factory tours that are being held at the Audi site. So what they have done is, from guests that actually take the effort to fly from across the world to come to Audi and see the production live, the brand is now offering online alternatives called Audi Stream. So what's interesting is these live and guided tours take you through the manufacturing process, the technicalities of how the car is actually produced. They even go the extra mile and answer your questions in order to make it a very interactive and engaging journey. Next sector that I will be covering is the real estate sector. So we've seen a lot of local brands in the region that have taken the viewing experience virtually. So take a step back. What is virtual viewing? It is where there's a 3D image of your property that can be viewed in a virtual reality. So for instance, you can see your home that you like, you can see the apartment, you can see the rooms, the dimensions, as if you're actually standing there. So over time, over the past few months, it has really picked up with companies like Property Finder and Bayut. Property Finder actually saw that once they launched this feature, they saw an increase of 7.76% increase in total number of weekly sessions and an 8.77 increase in the number of leads by just introducing this virtual feature. Then we also have Bayut. They also introduced virtual viewings, and additionally, they introduced a very interesting feature called TrueCheck. So this TrueCheck badge, what it does, it helps find the availability of properties in real time. So it completely eliminates the process of having to pick up the phone and call the agent and check if it's available or not. It's right there at your fingertips. So as we can see, that technology has taken a leap in advancement in COVID-19, regardless of the restrictions that have been there. Companies have actually taken that extra step to be up to speed within their industry itself. It's a win-win with companies doing bigger and better things, because with more competition, in the end, it's the consumers who benefit. So now in the next section, I'll be covering a few brands and industries that use augmented reality. So what is augmented reality? Augmented reality overlays digital content and information onto the physical world, as if it's actually there with you. A few months back, Google introduced a feature where if you type in the name of an animal, you can actually see this animal in your house wherever you are. So it was a really interesting feature, and it really went viral. So similar to that, a few brands here in the region who do it, for instance, is OptiFashion. So if you go to Mall of the Emirates to OptiFashion, they have a screen that's placed there in their branch where you can try on multiple glasses. By just standing in front of the screen, you can try multiple glasses without actually physically picking up and putting them on. So this kind of keeps the whole safety and hygiene in mind without customers having to sanitize their hands or be afraid of, any contact. So it's a perfect contactless solution. Now, going outside the region, IKEA 2018 introduced the IKEA Place app. So this IKEA Place app, when you download it, you're able to see product and furniture pieces how it looks inside your home. So you just need to hold the app and the product you like, and you can place it anywhere in a certain angle, in a certain area, for it to see if it fits in your theme, in your room. So it was a perfect solution. And this is a great way of augmented reality that they used. Next, we have Topshop. So we have Topshop in the UK that have smart mirrors installed in their branches. So here we have where a customer can just stand in front of the smart mirror and try on clothes without the hassle of actually going into a changing room. So in COVID times, it's more convenient and reduces the stress of having and it's perfect to have a contact-free shopping experience. Now I will hand it back to Maya to wrap things up.
Thank you, Isra, for that. So definitely, those are very varied examples of using virtual technology and augmented reality, which work very well for a multitude of industries. But also, it's really important when you look at technology like that is not to apply it in a gimmicky way. So especially augmented reality and virtual reality made a big splash a couple of years ago, but the apps that were coming on the market were really just a novelty. I think one of the important things to think about is if you're planning to invest in something virtual or augmented for your business, it's to actually think about what the consumer benefits from this and whether it's an accurate investment of your, obviously your budget. When you look at IKEA, for example, using that app that while it was developed in the UK can be used worldwide, that's an actual way to promote sales for people to have to perceive, to kind of visualize how an item will be used in their store. For OptiFashion, that was a health and safety feature that they added. So whatever you do, if you're going to take the leap into the digital world with virtual or augmented, it's really to have a think about what you want to do from a actual purpose for that. So to wrap up today's session on a couple of the interesting digital trends that are hitting the region and globally, COVID has thrust brands, big and small, into the digital depths, whether they like it or not. There is this funny little meme that circled for a while where it says, if you ask CEOs what helped them become more digitally savvy, X% will say it's COVID. Nobody actually wanted to become this digitally advanced so fast, but we had no choice. Consumer adoption of technology also accelerated. So a lot of people, for example, weren't watching video on demand, weren't video on demand subscribers, and we're not using things like online shopping apps or online grocery apps. That all changed overnight because of lockdown and COVID. So you now find that in the short span of a few months, we have a much more digitally savvy consumer and companies that have to keep up. Video has been on an upward trend for years, with live video at the forefront. If you are not making video, you are already behind. I don't want to sound harsh. I don't want to sound, I don't want to really stress you out, but this is something that I want to impress upon you. It is so easy today to make videos. You take your phone out, you make a video, you can get a tripod stand for your phone, and you can make the easiest, nicest videos. There is editing technology out there to help you, or just jump on stories if you don't want to make polished videos. Whatever you do, you have to be making videos for your brand, whatever the industry. There is really no industry that wouldn't benefit from video content. There are many creative uses of technology that do not require expensive tools, just a little extra brainstorming. So I think the West Elm example is a perfect example of a company really thinking that they're not going to, well, West Elm, I'm sure, has a lot of budget. The simple idea of creating these images that go in the background as Zoom backgrounds was made such a splash, but was such an easy and cheap way to use technology or to ride on that wave. So sometimes it just takes a little bit of time to apply your creative thinking on how to use the technology. And technology is actually making our marketing and our business much cheaper these days, rather than more expensive. And that's something to consider. But of course, whatever you do, be true to your brand. So I mentioned TikTok earlier. I mentioned going live. I mentioned a lot of things that may not feel natural to you or authentic to your brand. There is a way to leverage every tool in a way that makes sense for you. And while you may see your competitors doing things that are garnering them a lot of attention, but don't necessarily feel true to your brand, I would really urge you not to just jump on the bandwagon of doing exactly what they're doing, because it won't gather you the same attention, because it's not true to you and who you are, and it won't feel authentic for you, and you won't be consistent with it. And whatever you decide to do, whether it's with video or tools or technology, it is about consistency. It is about getting up, doing it every day or every week or every month or whatever you've committed to. If you decide to do a coffee mornings or a chat with your audience or your client or etc., do that on a regular basis. If you want to do videos, do them on a regular basis. Whatever you do, whether online or offline, consistency is essentially the most important thing. And you'll get better at it. I mean, your first videos, for example, are going to be terrible. Mine were too. They were very forced. They were very rehearsed. And over time, you get better. You get better at anything that you try to do. And if you wait until you're perfect, you're going to be way too late. So with that, we have come to the end of our content, but I'm happy to take any questions from anyone in the group if there was anything you wanted a little bit more information about. If you're too shy, if you don't want to jump on the sound, you can, of course, pop it in the chat as well.
Maya, I've got a question.
Sure.
Just a simple one. In terms of the length of the TikTok videos, I know it's very short. How short is short?
So the cap for TikTok used to be 15 seconds. They've increased it now to 60 seconds. So you can, any video that's produced, that's pre-recorded, can be up to 60 seconds. However, they also have a live streaming feature where you can go live up to 4 hours. So it's a minute is pretty much the same as what you can put on your Instagram feed as well.
Okay, thanks, Maya.
You're welcome. I think you'd be great on TikTok, Michelle, with your energy and your flair.
I think it's taking a couple of leaves out your book, knowing where to start and building a bit of confidence.
Honestly, the first few videos I made are cringeworthy. And I think still some of them today I make are cringeworthy, but it's about doing it every week and being really consistent. I mean, even now for us, my brain I'm kind of thinking about how we can get on TikTok and how we can make it work for us, because at first it was something that I thought was very, Gen Z, millennial, et cetera, not for a service provider. But I attended a conference last week that really changed my mind. So it's something worth exploring. I'm just worried about how much of a personal time suck it'll be because I've heard it's addictive. So I don't know.
Yeah. And Maya, obviously I know another platform you mentioned, LinkedIn and Stories, and that's not something I was familiar with. So thanks for that.
You're welcome.
And video content, obviously video here to stay. It's, you know, clearly going to be bigger. It's a huge digital trend. So lots of learnings. Thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
LinkedIn on the video side, sort of as big?
No, LinkedIn is really struggling when it comes to the more interactive features. So LinkedIn, I believe, has started rolling out live. It's rolled out stories, but the uptake on stories has been very limited. I think people are a bit, you know, people on LinkedIn want to be very polished. So the whole concept of stories is very raw, very behind the scenes, very much unfettered access to your life. So I think people are not understanding exactly what to share on LinkedIn stories. Brands can jump in here, I'm sure, because unlike Instagram stories, everyone does Instagram stories. The amount of like little bubbles you see at the top of your feed are massive. LinkedIn stories, there's still so few people doing it that if you start doing it and you start doing it in a really interesting way, you will be one of the few. And so you will be automatically at the top of everybody's page who follows you. So it could be something to jump on right now because it still is at the beginning. And this is also something to think about, is not to wait until a platform is matured to get on it. That's a big mistake that we all tend to make. We say, we're time strapped. So we don't want to spend time on every single platform. But if something seems, you know, I know you're a B2B business, so LinkedIn is obviously a very important platform for you. So if you want to start experimenting with that, making yourself among the most, you know, popular people with LinkedIn stories, that's something to think about. Similar to how podcasts, you know, 18 months ago, nobody was doing podcasts. 2 years ago, and now everybody's doing a podcast. So those people who spent the time to hone their craft when nobody was on podcasts are now among the top podcasters, where everyone else is just trying to catch up. So I would say go out and try some LinkedIn stories, see what happens.
Great advice. Thank you. Thanks, Maya.
Worst comes to worst, it's only 24 hours, so it's fine.
I think it's got to make a start in, you know, the video consistency. There's a lot of powerful messages that you've got to keep top of mind. And as you rightly say, it's not trying to be everything to everyone. But I think, you know, what's key, what sort of struck me was your very effective, be true to your brand. And it's really understanding what that is, because often we just don't take the time to think it through. Oh, I'm not doing this. And then you get on a guilt trip, and then how do I do it? And where should I be? And it just gets overwhelming. So you do nothing. So
yes.
A lot of good takeaways.
Yeah, I mean, don't try to be everywhere. I think that's an important thing as well. If you haven't really mastered a platform that you feel really happy with, it's important to do that before moving on to something else. Trying to be everywhere means you're just copying the same content everywhere, and it's not always the best way forward. So don't bite off more than you can chew, because it's just going to be overwhelming.
Yeah, and I think baby steps. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Maya.
Hi, Gloria.
Hi. Thanks for this. This is kind of like video is something I've, you know, over the years struggled with. I jump on Facebook Live in my group sometimes, and then I disappear. Social media is like, you know, one of those things that has always been a hit and miss, or off and on for me. But a lot of what you said, and I agree with what Michelle said, you know, have brought it to the forefront, especially when you said, if you're not doing video, you're way behind. And that's kind of like, yikes, that is so true. And it is something that I need to get on top of, especially for, you know, the sort of business I do within the health and wellness. It's super important. I do have a Facebook group, and it's not, I just need to get back on it. So thanks for that. So my question is, I know Facebook owns Instagram, and you said don't, you know, post in so many different places. How does it work, the dynamics between Facebook and Instagram? You know, you post on Instagram, you post on Facebook, or vice versa. How does that, you know, I just need a bit of clarification on that.
In terms of live or in terms of published content?
Both.
Both. Well, so they're varied. I mean, IGTV, one of the main differences about IGTV versus Facebook is it depends on the format that you want to use, because IGTV is a vertical format. So the way you would use that is you'd really mostly use your phone. And the way it looks is a bit different. From a Facebook perspective, I would actually, I mean, where you go live really depends on where your audience is. Like, where is your audience most engaged? So if you have a very engaged Facebook group, that's where you should be going live. If you have a very engaged Instagram platform, that's where you should be going live. But at the same time, the great thing about going where you don't have high engagement, so for example, if your Facebook group is already very engaged, but your Instagram is a bit lacking, when you go live on Instagram, it automatically pushes and tells everybody, I'm sure you've gotten those notifications, so-and-so is going live. And that brings your content to the forefront, and it brings your kind of top of mind perspective to the forefront. But I don't know, Isra, help me out here. Is there a way to share a live stream directly from Facebook onto IGTV or vice versa?
Sorry, could you repeat?
Is there, when you live stream on Facebook or IGTV, can it automatically be copied onto the other platform?
No, but the same video can be posted.
But you can't do live on both at the same time. Not with the same tool. You would have to set up 2 devices. Okay.
Oh,
does that answer your question?
Yeah. It does. There's an echo somewhere. It does. Thank you. And it just means for me, I need to reassess things and start getting on the videos, which has been a difficult, it's not the easiest thing for everybody, but, I like what you said when, you know what, just go with it. It doesn't have to be perfect. And, you know. Yeah.
I mean, look at us today. So this is the first time we've ever done the webinar. We were kind of working on the content for such a long time that the invites went out later than we expected. But we have a lovely group, small group of 13 people. It's not the world, but for me, having an engaged small group is still super valuable. So I think you have to alternate the metrics that you're looking at. It's not always about volume. It's also about, what value, your practice as well. The practice you get in by going on regularly, the more Facebook and Instagram, all social media platforms reward you for what you do as well. The more often you go live, the more often you publish, the more often Facebook will then put you at the top of their algorithm and really push you towards people who would be interested in your content. So it's also, you're investing in your digital presence, even if you're just going live to 5 people. And don't forget, that video stays saved, so people can go back and watch that as well.
That's good to know. Thanks, Maya.
You're welcome. Babida, I think you had unmuted. Did you want to ask something earlier?
Yeah, but I didn't do the raise a hand. I didn't know how it worked. But no, thank you for that. Very, very insightful, talk, because I've been kind of thinking about this interactive story that I wanted to post about, asking questions to the audience and stuff. So I think this kind of is going to get me started on it finally. I already have an idea of how I want it to go. But, just opening up the options on how other design products and brands have used platforms like TikTok or Zoom, and you said the West Property Finder, the IKEA was amazing. So, I mean, that seems like a very I feel more confident that I can kind of, get going with that. What I wanted to know was, where can I get more? Where can I learn more about how to make that? I mean, I don't want to do it with a professional camera. I just want to do it with my iPhone, probably. But where can I get more information on how to kind of make it a little polished?
Instagram stories?
Videos, yeah.
Videos. There's tons of content out on the internet. I mean, I think if you just did a quick Google search, there's so many different tools out there. First of all, there's a lot of apps that will help you. Also editing apps, so the video apps to make, you'll see people using really special fonts or nice frames or things like that. Those are all apps, and there are a multitude out there that you can use, and you can get.
Do you have any,
Sorry?
like, off your head, do you have any suggestions for an app? Or?
Isra is better on that. Isra, do you have any video editing apps that you use? Because Isra does a lot of our social media on stories. You're muted.
Yes. In terms of video, there are tons there. So the thing is, it's also depending on the levels. If you want to start off, I could get some names together and send it to you, because right now I'm currently working with a lot of apps for the pictures and the stories, just to understand how to post. So there's there is an app called Over, and there is an app called Canva, but I'm not sure how advanced it is for video, but it's great for stories, to design your stories, and just to get you started. If you want to just understand how to post some design stories, you can use these two apps to start, and then there are multiple editing apps for video, but I don't have the video apps on the top of my mind. We can always get back to you on this.
Yeah, we can send you a couple options for sure.
Can you send that to me as well, please, the video editing apps?
Sure, we'll do that. Okay, great. Any final questions before we wrap up the hour? Well, thank you so much for being with us today and helping us launch our